Um, Good evening, everyone. This is Vinita. Welcome to the science class from 8th to 10th higher grade. So, this topic is about biology and science, which are related to all the topics which are related to science. So, the email which you can have a word or any queries, you can just go on with this support@logiclabstech.com. This is the scanner for to scan for the course content, and this is the scanner for registration. For any queries, you can go ahead with this mail support@logiclabstech.com for any queries. And the first two sessions which was held yesterday, and today is a free session. And the third session, which will be shared to only the registered participants. So all the session recording and notes will be accessed through LMS Graphy. Okay. We will just have a recap of the yesterday's topic, which was done already. Okay. Control and coordination on the chapter control and coordination. What is control and what is coordination? As we already had a brief discussion and explanation of all the topic. The control is where your body regulates and functions all together, and then the coordination of the body system takes place. When there is no control and coordination, the working system of the organism or the body does not fall into place. Next, this is mainly brought about together by the nervous system as well as with the help of the endocrine systems also. Both of them play a very major role in control and coordination of a human body. So it regulates the proper coordination and efficient functioning of an organism. Now, this is the proper definition for coordination. The working together of various organs of the body of an organism in a proper manner to produce appropriate reaction to the stimulus. Mainly to respond to the stimulus is called as coordination. Next comes the nervous system. Touching of hand, touching any object, or changing the path on the road. All those we have seen the examples. Okay. So the process of sleeping, all this takes place only because of the nervous system which has falls. Okay. The nervous system mainly consists of the nerve fibers and the nerve cells. The nerve cells which are there also have a major role in transmitting the messages from the brain to different parts of the body, from the different parts of the body to the brain. So the messages are transmitted through the nerve impulses. So they are different, many nerves which are present in our body, as explained earlier. Next is the structure of neuron which we have. The neuron is a structural and functional unit of a nervous system, of our nervous system. So this contains different parts where we have the dendrites, the branched structures which are present in the neuron, and then nucleus, axon is the cell body, the soma, as well as the axon terminal, which is present at the end. So most of the neurons, they receive signals via these dendrites and soma and send out through the axon. So this is how the structure of neuron actually looks like. Okay. The next one comes the reflex action, which is the most important thing happens in our body. It's an automatic or an involuntary response to the stimulus which minimizes damage. Where there is no damage occurring happens due to these reflex actions, the way we respond to those actions are much more important. Okay, we have seen the flow chart of how a reflex action occurs. Okay, this is the different types of parts in our body which respond when we have a reflex action. First is the receptor will just detect the stimulus. It will detect the stimulus or when there is a sudden change in the environment. Then the sensory neuron, the sensory neuron sends a signal to the relay neurons. These relay neurons will then send a message to the motor neurons, and then it reaches the effector. Then there is a response in the body where touching an hot object, immediately you just take out your hand, or blinking of eyes. And then when dust falls in your eye and you just suddenly blink your eye, open and close. Sneezing when a dirt particle enters into your nose. Coughing when something enters into your throat. So these are the different examples which we already learned about. Okay. And we also have seen the infants, what they do because of these reflex actions. Okay. Okay. Now, then today's topic is a continuation of the yesterday's topic which we have. So the same thing where you have the support at the rate logiclabstech.com. If you have any queries, you can go ahead with this. And then you have the scanner, different scanners to scan the course content as well as to register the sessions. You can do with this. The next one is, if you have any queries, you can just go with this mail ID, support@logiclabstech.com. Okay. The next important topic and the part which takes place in the in the control and coordination system is the human brain. Human brain is much more important for a person to exist in the particular environment. The human brain is the central organ of the human nervous system. So we cannot survive without the brain. Mainly people who are having any brain issues with the brain, the whole body collapses and there is no proper functioning of the system which takes place. The human brain the human brain is the central organ of the human nervous system. And with the spinal cord makes up the central nervous system. Mainly the different parts which are involved in the brain also play a major role in control and coordination system. Okay, this is the central organ of the human nervous system, and it also accompanies the spinal cord, and the whole nervous system falls into place. The brain mainly consists of the cerebrum. Okay. Next is the brainstem and the cerebellum. This is the brainstem which we have, or the medulla. So, and then the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum. Okay. The spinal cord is also made up of nerves. Especially the spinal cord is also made up of nerves. And whatever information you think about passes from the brain to the spinal cord. Okay. Thinking involves more and more complex connections, like your neural system, as well as different mechanisms, mainly involves in thinking, as well as we already discussed, the information is being received and from the different parts of the brain to the from different parts of the brain to the spinal cord, as well as from the spinal cord to the brain. Okay. The next one comes is we have a lot of actions which we think about to do, like thinking, writing, reading, sleeping, talking, or else clapping your hands. Okay. At the end, so once when a program is started, okay, you just look at the program, you just feel it, and then you start, if you like it, you just start clapping your hands automatically. So it's something, an involuntary action which happens. Okay. And then your brain automatically responds. So the brain has to send messages even to the muscles. In this case, the messages has to be sent even to the muscles, then only your hands start to clap. Okay. The next one is the communication between, mainly the communication between the central nervous system, this is all the central nervous system, and the other parts of the body, whatever parts of the body it may be. It is mainly facilitated by the peripheral nervous system. We have two different types of nervous system: central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. So it is even facilitated or associated with the peripheral nervous system. These are the main important things which we have to remember. Okay. Now, I already said there are three different parts. The brain consists of the cerebrum, the brainstem, as well as the cerebellum. It controls, as already said, it controls most of the activities of the body. Whatever activities which we are doing in our daily life, all these are controlled by the brain, as well as processing. Okay, the processing which happens in your daily life. Integrating. Integrating means when we combine two things together, when we have to think and write, you have to integrate. So this is what happens because of the brain, and coordinating the information it receives from the sense organs, and you need to make your own decisions as the instructions sent to the rest of the body. Whatever information is sent to the other parts of the body, so it's from the sense organs, all these have to be thought only by the brain. Now, the next one is we have separate areas, like for thinking. We have separate areas of the brain for thinking, even for, hearing, smell, sight, whatever receptors or the sense organs which we have. So there are different parts in the brain which plays a very major role. Okay. Next, coming to the cerebrum. As we already discussed, the forebrain is the main thinking part of the brain. The forebrain, which is there, which is the cerebrum, it is the main thinking part of the brain. Okay. What happens in this part is it receives sensory impulses from various receptors. We have different types of receptors, means the sense organs. So these they send and receive many kind of information from different parts of the sense organs. So this is how the forebrain works. Okay. Next, there are separate areas of association where the sensory information is put together with the information from the receptors. Okay. Whatever information is sent from different parts of the body, they are integrated or they are mixed with the other parts of the body, and then the brain starts thinking what to do. This is how it works. Now cerebrum is the front part of the brain. Okay, the cerebrum is the front part of the brain, where it includes the cerebral cortex. Okay, it includes the cerebral cortex. So these are the cerebrum part, and it has the cerebral cortex. It, as already said, this part is mainly responsible for different processes like controlling, initiating movement, thinking, whatever you want to, emotion, problem solving, learning. So there are many things which takes place only in the cerebrum. Whatever emotions you have, whether you are happy, sad, you know, emotional, whatever it may be, nervous. So all these different kinds of emotions are controlled only because of the cerebrum. And there is problem solving, like you have a problem. One side of the brain tells you the right thing. The other part of the brain tells you the wrong thing. So all these are mainly controlled only because of the cerebrum. Learning. So when you need to mug up something, or when you need to buy hard something, or when you have to learn something new, so your cerebrum plays a very major role in this kind. Okay, and the next one which we have is the midbrain. Okay, and then we have the medulla. This is the medulla. Okay, cerebrum. Next we have the cerebellum and the medulla. This is directly, our brain is directly connected to the spinal cord. So spinal cord also plays a very major role in the nervous system. Okay, this is the forebrain which we have. We have forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Okay. Okay. The next part of the brain is the cerebellum. Cerebellum also plays a very major role. Okay, it is cerebellum is also called as the little brain. Cerebellum is also called as the little brain. It is present underneath the cerebrum. Okay, underneath the cerebrum. Cerebellum will just have this is the cerebrum as already explained. So this is the cerebellum which is present under the cerebrum. So this also plays a very major role in the nervous system. Under the cerebrum, at the back of the head. Okay? It is present at the back of the head. And it also regulates the balance and learned movements. So balancing means you need to balance your body. Okay. So balancing of the body mainly takes place only because of the cerebellum, which we have. Like, and also learned movements means which we have learned already in our childhood, or in a very at a very small age, which we are already very much good enough to perform those actions, such as walking, okay, fastening buttons, as well as talking, okay, writing, which we all do at a very early age, and then we just don't forget. Once when you learn to drive, you cannot forget in your whole lifelong period. So this is what, how is it stored, is only because of the cerebellum. Okay, so this is the most important part of the brain, where cerebellum, because we should not forget anything which has already been learned. Next, so but it cannot initiate movement, means the things which has to be learned in a new way cannot be stored in the cerebellum. Means the new things which you learn cannot be stored in the cerebellum. Whatever is already learned is only stored in the cerebellum. Okay. So the next best example is people who consume more of alcohol cannot walk properly. Okay, they just lose their balance because the cerebellum will not work properly when they uh, take in a lot of alcohol, and it is very sensitive to alcohol. That's the reason they just lose their balance, and then they cannot walk properly when they consume too much of alcohol. Okay, and the next one comes one more example, like what the function of cerebellum is. It helps in learning as well as in decisions making. So when you are in a confusion of which decision to take or what to do, it mainly it mainly occurs only because of the cerebellum. Okay, and the next one, for example, you have many different types of voluntary actions which takes place. Okay, our leg muscles, for example, our leg muscles. Okay, certain sensations are very distinct from seeing or hearing. Yes or no? Yes. So how do we know that we have eaten enough quantity of food? That also takes place into action only because of the cerebellum. Whether your stomach is full or not, whether you want to sleep more or that is that sleep enough, all that decisions are only taken only because of the cerebellum. This plays a very major role. The sensation of feeling full. Okay, because your hunger is full. I mean, your hunger is fulfilled. That decision can be made only because of the cerebellum. This is what happens in the cerebellum. The next one comes the medulla. The medulla also regulates the biological functions like involuntary actions which takes place in our body, okay, such as the heart rhythm, then the blood flow, breathing, okay, many other, heartbeat on its own it takes place. Whether if you say to stop or not, your heartbeat goes on and on. Breath. Continuously you breathe. Without breathing, we cannot survive. So you need not insist your body or brain to breathe continuously. It's only because of the medulla which takes place. Okay, then the blood flow. Continuously your blood has to flow into your body. Without the blood, the body conditions will not work properly. Okay, that is all because of medulla. It also detects the changes in blood oxygen and carbon dioxide levels. So how much amount of blood oxygen is present in your body or carbon dioxide levels are present in your body is all taken up because of medulla. Okay. Reflexive responses like vomiting, swallowing, coughing. Yes, all these are only because of medulla. So you have a sensation of vomiting. You beforehand you know that you feel like vomiting. So all that takes place because of medulla or swallowing the food which has to go into your stomach automatically comes because of the medulla. Okay, you cannot put your food in your mouth and stay for a longer period. You need to swallow. So that automatically moves into the food pipe and then reaches the stomach. All this is because of medulla. Okay, coughing also. Automatically you get cough when you're not well or whatever the reason may be. All these are mainly because of medulla. Okay. Next, we have other involuntary actions like salivation, blood pressure, all these. Next, we have different one few examples which I'm going to give you is activities like walking in a straight line. So you have a straight line and you just walk. So that is also because of the medulla which takes place. Riding a bicycle. So when you want to ride a bicycle, so which part of the brain helps is the medulla. Okay, and then you find a pencil over there on the ground. and you just want to pick it up. That is also because of medulla. All these are possible only because of this medulla. Okay, and then voluntary actions, maintaining the posture and balance of the body is only present because of the cerebellum. Okay, this is what is a brief explanation of the different parts of the brain. The next one is, how are the tissues protected? Okay, then as we already discussed, the brain is very delicate. Okay, so it's very important for a variety of activities. So different types of activities which we come across in our daily life is all because of the brain and the thinking capacity which we have. So all these has to be protected. The brain has to be protected, carefully protected. So the body is designed, okay, the body is designed so that the brain has to sit in a bony box. The brain has to sit, the body is designed so that the brain has to sit in a inside a bony box, okay, where it has to be protected in such a way that it does not get any hurt or injury. So this is what happens. So how is it protected then? Okay, the brain is having a fluid filled balloon, so which helps in shock absorption. So whatever shock you get or whatever shocking news you just hear, okay, so they have to get protect, there has to be some protection. So which is protecting it? There's a fluid which is filled inside the brain, which is protected by a balloon. Okay, this helps in stopping your brain from injuries when you hear some shocking news. So it absorbs, the shock absorption capacity is present. So if you just run your hand down below of your back, you can feel a hard bumpy structure. If you run, yes, when you take your hand to the middle of your back, yes, you can feel a hard bumpy structure of the brain. So this is the vertebral column or backbone which protects the spinal cord. Okay, this is what happens. So indirectly, your brain is protected with the help of this vertebral column, and also it protects the spinal cord. Okay, this is what happens. These tissues are much more important, which helps in protection of the brain. Okay, next one is, how does the nervous tissue cause action? Okay, so till now we have been talking about the nervous tissue or the nerve, neuron, and all this. Now we will see how it collects the information and it sends around the body. Yes, each and every body will receive some or the other information, whether it is from the environment or when you talk to someone or do some actions. So all this is processed information which makes decisions. So who is taking decisions is the brain. The brain mainly is taking decisions. So these decisions are mainly performed by the brain, and it sends, or it conveys the decisions to the muscles for the action to be performed. Okay, so even muscles also play a very major role, and it helps in performing that particular action which fulfills the final job which has to be done. Okay, now when a nerve impulse reaches the muscle fiber has to move. So whatever actions you do, okay, the nerve impulse has to reach the muscle. Whatever impulse or the connections which are there between the nerve and the muscle, it has to reach the muscle fiber. reaches the muscle, and then the muscle fiber continuously moves. Okay, then the junction between the neuron and the muscle cell is called the neuromuscular junction. So whatever junction is there, junction means joining. So between the neuron and the muscle cell which is there, it is called as neuromuscular junction. Okay. Okay. Now what is happening is this neuromuscular junction, what it happens, the cellular level, the muscle cells will start changing its shape. Okay, whatever action you do, if you want to stretch your leg, so what happens to your muscle, they become long and they become elongated. Okay, and then when you just keep your leg or your knee in short or fold your leg, what happens to the muscle? It becomes shortened. So it becomes long as well as short. This is how there is a change in the shape of the muscles. Okay. The muscle cells will contain some protein that is much more important, which helps in changing their shape. Okay. The protein which is present inside the muscle helps in changing the shape. This plays a very major role in changing the shape of the muscle. Okay. When a nerve impulse or information is just reaches the muscles through the neuromuscular junction, then the muscles show the action. So whenever information of is reached, okay, is reached by the muscles, it is only because of the neuromuscular junction or the combination of neuron and muscle, and then the action takes place or the response is being seen, like stretching your leg or shortening your leg. Okay, it can be a knee jerk sometimes, which we have already learned in the reflex action. So this is what happens when the due to neuromuscular junction. Okay. The next, as I already said, the muscles show action or response by contraction and relaxation of protein which is present in the special muscles. Muscle cells. This is what happens when the nervous tissue uh, cause an action. So as well as it also collects all the information and sends to each and every part of the body. Then it will process the information, whatever information is there, it will process the information, and then it makes decisions based on the information which is present. Okay, and also it helps in conveying the decisions to the muscles. So whatever muscles, okay, you want to respond to, whether your hand muscles or your leg muscles. For example, if we take the muscles which are present in your stomach, whenever you feel hungry, okay, your stomach muscles, whichever are present in your abdomen, start moving here and there, and then you can hear some sounds. Then it sends a message to the brain from the neuromuscular junction which is present in your stomach. The nerves which are present in the brain respond, and you start feeling hungry. The sense of hunger starts. Okay, and same way, the same example, like in a different way we can take when you feel sleepy. Okay, the glands or the muscles which are present in your body, you feel restless, and then it sends a message to the neuromuscular junction to your brain, and your yawning starts. Okay, you start yawning, and then you feel sleepy and you want to sleep. Okay, same way, the same concept which can be taken for mouth watering of food. When you just see the smell, the aroma of a different kind of food, okay, it starts it starts watering in your mouth. Why? Because the responses or sense organs which produce a response, it reaches, that information will be sent to your brain. Okay, where through the neuromuscular junction, and then it reaches to your brain, and then your uh, mouth starts watering, and then you just want to have that food. This is how the neuromuscular junction goes on. Okay, this is the most important thing which happens in your body every day in your life, every day, and for every action which takes place in your body. This is the most important. Okay. Next one is the coordination in plants. Okay. Do you think only animals or human beings have coordination in their body? No. Even plants need to have that coordination. This coordination especially takes place because of the different parts which are present in the plants. Okay. We have a nervous system for control and coordination, as we already discussed. Now, but what about plants? They don't have a nervous system, or they do not have any muscles also to perform all these functions. Then how will they coordinate with each other? How do they respond to that particular stimuli? That is much more important. Now, for example, if you take the leaves of mimosa, mimosa is touch me not. Okay, touch me not plant, as you all, I think you all are aware of. Okay, this is very sensitive. For example, you can take the touch me not plant, which is very sensitive to touch. So once you touch the leaves of a mimosa or touch me not plant, it automatically closes. Okay, and then after few seconds or few minutes, then the leaves of that particular plant slowly opens automatically. Okay, this is called as coordination, much more important. Okay, next, when a seed germinates, one more example which we can take is when a seed will start germinating, the first thing which grows down is the root. Okay, the root goes down, and then the shoot comes into the air, starts growing into the air. And then firstly, the leaves of the sensitive plant will move very quickly in response to touch. Okay, whatever leaves which are growing in the stem starts growing very slowly. And then once it starts growing, then the other parts of the body also in the plant starts growing, like your leaves, then comes your flowers, then comes your seeds or the fruit which takes its place. So this is how the coordination happens in plants. Okay, so what is coordination in plants? Then coordination is the ability to use different parts of the body together. So whatever parts which are there in the plants, they all work together very smoothly and efficiently. There is no uh, harm or hurt which takes place. Okay, this is how plants form their coordination and due to the result of a chemical system which happens. So as they have plant hormones, or we are calling those hormones as phytohormones, which play a very major role in coordination of plants. Especially we have two different types of movements. Okay, there is no growth which is involved in this movement. So as I already said, there are two movements. So in these two movements, there is no growth which is involved in this movement. So we can just see the directional movement of a seedling is caused by the growth. So by the growth, we can only see the direction of seedling. What is seedling? Seedling is the seed which we sow into the ground or into the soil, and then slowly it starts germinating, and then the root starts growing down into the ground. Okay. If this is prevented from growing, okay, when we stop pouring water or the conditions are not proper, we cannot see any movement which takes place. Okay, they have two different types of movements. One, we are calling it as growth dependent movement. Okay, growth dependent movement, which we are calling it as tropic movements. We are calling that as tropic movements. These tropic movements or the growth dependent movements can be towards or away from the stimulus. It can be towards or away from the stimulus. As we already discussed, in humans also we have stimulus. Same way in plants also they have stimulus. Okay, so that can be growth dependent movement or the tropic movements. Okay, and the next one is non-growth dependent movements called the nastic movements. So that is not related, that is not dependent on the stimulus. Means whichever response is given, it will just not depend upon that movement, and then it grows by its own. Plant hormones are present. As we have hormones in our body, even plants also have some hormones. Okay. Next one is, do you think the nervous system or nervous tissue is present in our, any muscle or tissue is present in our in the plants? No, not at all. Then how the plant will detect the touch? How do the leaves move to the response? So when we think, exactly when where exactly the plant is touched, which part of the plant actually moves, that is much more important. Okay, it is much more coordinated and communicated to which part of the plant you just touch, it starts moving. This is because there is electrical chemical means which passes the information from one cell to another cell which is present in that particular plant. Okay, and then what happens is, finally, again, as in animals, we have some cells which change their shape in order or for movement which has to take place. There's specialized proteins also which are being released, okay, found in animals, like how they are found in animals. Even in plants, they help in changing of, shape of that particular cell, and the amount of water which helps in swelling of the seed or shrinking of seed which happens. So there is a much change which is found in plants. This is how it happens. Okay. Now, growth, movement which is happening due to growth. So we already have seen that growth dependent movements are called as tropic movements, which respond to that particular stimulus. So like we have the pea plant, okay, which climbs up on, or it takes the help of other, uh, because it's a climber, it takes the support of other plants. Okay, so it is these, we are calling them as tendrils. These are very sensitive to touch. So when you come in contact with the object, they do not grow. Okay, they just do not grow when it comes in contact with a hard object, because it breaks, and certainly the plant may die. So what will happen then? We have to start responding to the stimulus. The plant starts responding to the stimulus very slowly. So you need to touch very slowly. So this is how the movement takes place. Okay. It has to grow in a particular direction. It cannot grow as it likes. So it takes the support of some plant, and then it moves in a particular direction. It appears that the plant is moving. We see that, so for example, if you take uh, pea plant and a rose plant. A rose plant grows in a straight manner, whereas if you take pea plant, as it's a climber, okay, tendril, so it takes the direction in as if it is moving. Okay, So it takes the support of some other plant which helps in the movement. This is how movement takes place due to growth. Okay. So these are the different changes, and also environment plays a very major role. Environment very plays a very major role for coordination in plants, like light. Okay. Or we have gravity, which helps in the movement of the plant or growth of the plant. Okay. Air. These are the different things which play a very major role. Okay. Next, we have different hormones as already discussed. We are calling these plant hormones as the phytohormones. We are calling this as what? Phytohormones. Now, what are these phytohormones? Why are they important for a plant? They are the chemical compounds which are released by the stimulated cells. We have we have chemicals, or the hormones which are released in our body, which we are going to study in the next slides, further slides. Even in plants, there are different chemical compounds or hormones which are being released by the cells. Okay, these hormones are mainly diffused around the plant cells. Diffused means they just spread around, or they move from one part of the body to the other part in the plant. Okay, they are present around the plant cells. They mainly help in cell division, means breaking of cell takes place. And the next one is cell enlargement. Okay, cell enlargement means it helps in the growth of the cell. Cell differentiation. What is cell differentiation? There is a comparativity between from one cell to another cell. So that differentiation takes place. Then fruit growth, where it produces fruits. Falling of leaves. We see that in few seasons, like the autumn season and all these seasons, spring season, the old leaves shed off, and then we can find new leaves which are coming out. So all these falling of leaves also is possible because of these plant hormones. Ripening of fruits. Okay, when you take the example of mango fruit. So when it is at a very budding stage or a small stage, the fruit is very small, only a small seed starts growing. And then when it is on the plant, on the tree only, after few days, what happens? It starts changing its color from green to yellow. So this is because of these phytohormones or plant hormones which are being released. Next one is aging of plants. Okay, we have different types of ages in plants as we have in humans. Biennial, okay, diennial, so uh, perennial. So the different age groups are present in plants even. So a plant cannot survive for a longer period of time. Some can survive for 10 years, some may survive for 5 years, some may survive even for 100 years. Big trees which are there, like banyan tree, sesame, all these are examples for aging of plants. So the age of these plants is very long, like a neem tree and all that. All these, the aging also is decided by the um, plant hormones or the phytohormones. Okay. They even respond with different types of lights. They detect light. Okay. Few need, like sunflower needs more light. Okay. The sun rays, whenever it falls only, then this flower starts to open. As soon as the sun sets down, then it starts to droop off. So this is the best example which can be given for sunflower as an example, which opens its flower during daytime whenever sun is there and then sheds off. Okay, this is also an example for plant hormones or phytohormones. Okay, there are different hormones which are released called the auxin. and helps in shoot tip. All that we are going to study. Okay. Now the different movements which takes place due to growth in plants. There are different movements as already discussed. Coordination in plants. As already we have learned coordination in human beings. Okay. There is a coordination in plants also. What is coordination? Nothing but the working together of all the organs in a living thing. In movement also, there is movement in plants also because of coordination. Okay, tropic movement. Movement is not like how they move, how we human beings move from one place to another, or animals move in plants. But there is some movement like drooping off, or standing, the straight standing of a plant. All this is because of the tropic movements which takes place, that may be dependent on growth. Okay. Or else the directional movements in response to stimulus. So this tropic movement is mainly dependent movement which is dependent on the growth. Okay, as they grow, the movement also changes. Okay, some may move towards light. So we will just discuss all that. Next one is the directional movements in response to stimulus. So as already discussed, we have the touch me not plant, where if we touch our hand, automatically the leaves shed down. So that is due to the stimulus, directional movements in response to stimulus. Okay. Now the different types of tropisms which we have, or movement in plants which we have, is phototrophism, geotrophism, chemotrophism, and the last one comes to hydrotrophism. Phototrophism is the movement towards light. So whatever plant is there, if it moves towards the light, we are calling, means the movement of that plant takes place only because of light, towards the light. So sometimes we don't know, we don't observe so deeply that the plant also moves, not exactly from one place to another, but the leaves of them, of the plant, moves in its direction. We don't notice generally, but this is what happens in plants. Okay, so whichever plants are growing towards the ground, okay, towards gravity, we are calling the movement which takes place towards the gravity, we are calling it as geotropism. Geotropism is mainly of two types again: positive geotropism and negative geotropism. Few plants, they just grow on the ground. Okay, they just grow on the ground, especially like creepers, like cucumber and all, pumpkin. Okay, bottle gourd. All these have all these vegetables. They just muskmelon, watermelon, fruits. They just grow on the ground. So that is a type of positive geotropism. Whereas negative geotropism, which do not grow on the ground, they just grow upward or against to the ground. So those type of plants, we are calling them as negative geotropism, like the rose plant, okay, like the neem plant. They just don't grow towards the ground. They just grow upward or opposite to the direction of the uh, gravity. Okay, so this is the response to the pull of the earth or gravity, whether it is growing towards the gravity or away from the gravity. This is what we are calling it as uh, geotropism. What happens is the root generally the root generally grows towards the ground, whereas the shoot generally grows upwards the ground. So this is what happens in a geotropism mechanism. Okay, next one comes the chemotrophism. Chemotrophism is the chemicals, the movement towards the chemicals, or growth of pollen tubes towards the alveoli. What happens is the chemicals will be released. We have different types of chemotropism which takes place when the growth of the pollen tubes towards the alveoles. So what happens is pollen tube is mainly helpful for the movement or the growth of the plant from one from one place to the other place. So this mainly takes place because of insects, because the insects will carry the fuels from one part of the from one plant to some other place. So they just throw them. Okay, then a plant starts growing. This is what happens in chemotropism. The chemicals are being released. Okay, and then what happens is the movement of few plants takes place very rapidly because of these chemicals which are being released by the plant. So few chemicals which are released by the plant helps in quick growth of the plant. So few plants do not release any chemicals. So those type of plants, they just die within uh, a short period of time. This is what happens in chemotropism. The next one comes is the hydrotropism. Hydrotropism is movement which takes place towards the water, which takes place towards water. So few plants which grow in water, aquatic plants. Okay, these are mainly helpful for providing carbon dioxide to different, they just provide oxygen to different animals or human beings and to animals which are present in the water, and they just take in carbon dioxide. Okay. All this is because of hydrotrophism, where the plant, we can see a rapid growth of the plant because of water. This is called as hydrotrophism, which takes place especially. Okay. And also few plants which provide shelter to the aquatic animals are also present in water, and they help in positive hydrotrophism, okay, where it has a rapid growth of the plant quickly, which takes place. Okay, the next one is hormones in animals. As we already discussed, hormones, muscles, all these play a very major role for information to be transferred from one part to other part. So, for example, if we take squirrels, okay, experience a very scary when they are in a very scary situation. Okay, as soon as we see a squirrel, okay, when it sees us, when it just has a look at us, it starts climbing or it starts moving away. How is that possible? Okay, this is only because of these hormones. The hormones which are present in that particular animal or human being, what happens is it starts releasing the chemicals. Okay, the information is being transferred to the brain or the other parts, and then the body starts to respond. Okay, they either prepare the body to fight, means to conquer them or to oppose them, or else they just move away from them. If they just scared, they just get scared and they just move away from it. That is all because of this hormones which are present in the body. Okay, both moving away or fighting, both are complicated activities which are mainly depending upon the energy levels which we have. So for example, if you find a thief in front of you, okay, you just the two things which you can do is, for example, you can just fight with him, okay, or else if you're scared of him, you can just run away from him. Okay, these are the two things which you can do depending upon your energy levels. The one who thinks, okay, I am strong, I can fight with him, I can deal him, whoever thinks in that way can just go ahead and they can fight. The person who thinks, oh no, if I fight with him, I may get, hurt, or I may fall in trouble if whoever thinks in that way, that person will just go away or run away from him. That is his energy levels. So these both, running away or fighting with him, both are complicated activities, and then both require energy levels which has to go on. So in this role, we have different tissues, okay, which form together or integrate together to perform these actions. Okay, this is the most important function of a hormone. The two alternate activities which we do. Okay, next one. Hormones are chemicals secreted by various endocrine glands directly into the blood and transported to the respective organs. So first is, we need to know that these hormones are being released by various glands. We have two different types of glands, the endocrine gland as well as the exocrine gland. So these hormones, what they do is, they are chemicals and they are secreted by endocrine glands. These endocrine glands, what they do is, they directly enter into the blood, okay, and they just transport to whichever organs they want. They just transport, like whichever organ is needed, they just transport. Okay, where they act by regulating various metabolic processes. We have different processes like respiration. Okay, we have digestion process which takes place, excretion process which takes place in our body. Okay, nervous system. So brain thinking, all these are called as organs. Whichever, heart is an organ, yes. So brain is an organ. All these, what they do is, they just transport to respective organs, and the metabolic processes starts to fall in place, or they just take part. The organ which is affected by the hormone, okay, whichever organ is affected by the hormone which acts on it, is called as the target organ. So for example, if we take bow and arrow, okay, we just take a bow and arrow. Our target is hitting an animal, for example. Our target has to be the animal, okay. So the hormones or the energy which you need is being released by these chemicals into the body, and then that is called the target. Same way, the organ which is affected by the hormone, whichever hormone the organ wants, okay, whichever hormone the organ needs, that is called as the target organ. Okay, the target cells have, whatever target cells are there, they have specific receptors. Receptors is what is needed, what has to be taken. So these target cells have, whatever cells they have specific receptors. Okay, they have specific receptors which helps to recognize the respective hormones. The hormones, these cannot, the organs cannot receive whatever hormones they want, but each organ will have their own specific hormones. So who will release is the target cells. Okay, the target cells will have these specific receptors, and then they recognize the respective hormones. Okay, we have, as already said, we have two types of glands which are present in our human body or animals. Yes, we have the endocrine glands as well as the exocrine glands. Much more important. Okay, the endocrine glands are the glands which do not have ducts, and they transport the secretions directly to the site of action through the blood. So they do not have any ducts. Ducts means what? Like we have the uh, water pipes which have ducts. It acts like a transport system for the flow of the water. Same way, but in endocrine glands, we don't have those transport system like via. Via is not present, where it directly transports the secretions into site of action. Wherever it is needed or wherever it is necessary, it directly sends it through the blood. So for example, we have the adrenal glands and we have the pituitary glands. Okay, so these are the examples for endocrine glands. So these are the different chemicals which are released into the human body in the picture. Okay. Next one is the exocrine glands. So these adrenal glands which are present in the endocrine and the pituitary glands which are present, they do not have ducts. So they directly reach the site of action through the blood. So these contain different hormones, and then these glands will release the hormones and the chemicals, and then the passage of all the different parts of the body takes place. Next one is the exocrine glands. They have ducts, means there is a passage. Directly it cannot be done. These glands have ducts to pass their secretions. So directly it cannot be done. So you have the sweat glands, for example. You have the sweat glands. Even if microscopic observations can be done to observe the sweat gland, directly you cannot get sweat. So you get tired, or if the climate is very hot, what happens is small pores, which if you observe, you can find small pores on the skin, on the surface of the skin. So from there you get the sweat, not directly on the skin. So there is a duct. This duct which helps in passage of the sweat to the ball on the surface of the skin. Next is liver. Okay. Next one, hormones are secreted by endocrine glands. Whatever hormones are there are secreted only by the endocrine glands. Okay. This is more important. Okay. Next, coming to the differences between the exocrine glands and the endocrine glands. So these exocrine glands, as already discussed, they have ducts, exocrine, whereas the endocrine, they do not have ducts, they are ductless glands. And then these secrete enzymes, which secretes the exocrine will start. These exocrine glands will secrete enzymes. Whatever enzymes are there, they start secreting. But these endocrine glands will secrete hormones, as we already discussed. Enzymes means which help in breakage of the proteins in your body. Who will do that? It is the exocrine glands. They will, whatever food you take, the proteins, the food components of food which we take cannot be digested directly. So it has to undergo a different, huge process or a lengthy process which takes place. That is only the enzymes which has to be takes place is only by the exocrine glands. Next one, exocrine glands, they pour secretions in ducts of the glands. So whatever secretions are there, they are poured into the ducts. Because they have ducts, they just pour into these ducts. This is the function of the exocrine glands. And then because they do not have ducts, they directly fall into the blood, endocrine glands. Next. So because they have glands, these exocrine glands, because they have glands, they are located nearby the site of action. Whatever site of action it can be, means where it has to get released, it is very located nearby. Okay, because they have ducts. Whereas these endocrine glands, because they secrete hormone, they pour into the blood, they are located away from the site of action. Okay, means where it has to get responded, it will be very far. These are the differences. Okay. Next one is we have hormones. As we already discussed in the previous slide, hormones are released only by the endocrine glands, which we know. Yes, so that the endocrine system is a collection of glands. So these endocrine system has different collection of glands, so which produce hormones. They produce different kinds of hormones. These hormones are called as chemical messengers. We have different messengers. Okay, means they pass the information. These hormones pass directly into the bloodstream. So to control metabolism, whatever metabolism takes place in the body, all these are controlled only by the endocrine system, which consists of a set of glands or many glands. So because of these glands, hormones are being released. They help in producing into the bloodstream and they control the metabolism. The growth of the body takes place, and the sexual development or the secondary sexual characters will be developed only by the endocrine glands. Okay, the endocrine system consists of different glands, like we have the hypothalamus gland, okay, which is present in the brain, pituitary gland, okay, pineal gland, thyroid gland, parathyroid gland, adrenal glands, pancreas, thymus. We have testes in male and ovaries in female. So it is where these are the different glands which are present in the endocrine system. Okay, the pituitary gland mainly helps in growth in of all the organs. What this is present, hypothalamus is present in the brain, which helps in different thinking processes, whereas pituitary gland helps in the stimulating the growth of all the organs. All the organ development takes place in the pituitary gland. Okay, next one comes the pineal gland. Pineal gland is mainly helpful for the breakdown of all the different enzymes which are present in the body. Okay, next one comes the thyroid gland. This thyroid gland helps in maintaining the thyroid in the neck region. Okay, where the overgrowth of thyroid or uh, a extra growth of overgrowth of thyroid may take place. So to stimulate those thyroid glands, the thyroid gland plays a very major role. Next one comes the parathyroid, where we have one more thyroid gland inside parathyroid, which helps in the overgrowth of the neck region. Next one comes the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is mainly helpful for fight or flight, as already discussed. Like you can face the situation or you can just run away from the situation. All that is decided only by the adrenal glands. Pancreas. Pancreas mainly helps in the secreting the pancreatic juices when you have your food. Okay. Next one comes the thymus. Thymus gland helps in regulating your insulin levels, like blood sugar levels and all. Pancreas and thymus work together. Next one comes the testis. And the male characters, secondary sexual characters, are mainly controlled because of the testis. The same with the females, ovaries, also help in growth of the baby, as well as the different parts which are present in the female reproductive system is carried only because of the ovaries. This is what the different hormones which are released by the endocrine glands. The blood sugar levels which are present in the body is also detected by the pancreas, as already discussed. So they may produce more of insulin. So as the blood sugar levels falls, the insulin secretion will also be reduced. This is what happens in the human body. The growth hormone which regulates. Okay, we have different hormones which are present. One second. So the hormones which are present in these glands are also helpful for growth and development of the body. So if you think if there is any deficiency of hormone in the childhood, okay, it leads to many problems. Because of these problems, both the exocrine as well as the endocrine glands may not function properly. The total body disturbs And then we can find many different, for example, we have dwarfism. Gigantism means a person may grow more taller in height, or they may be very shorter in height. So this is what happens, especially because of that. Because of that is what happens. 1 second. Okay, because of that, the person may grow in tall or else short, and then the hormones which are there, which will not be released in right amount. The person may be very short all through his life, or the person may grow tall uh, and stay like that for a longer period of time. So it is very important for the hormones and to function properly, so that it has to be released in the right amount. So this is for today. So you are happy to address queries on today's topic, and the mail which you can post any queries or forward to this mail ID, support@logiclabstech.com. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.